Hey there, this is Alana, and we are doing a Q&A, and this comes from Peter DeHaan. And the question is, what tips can you share about working on mindset from a Christian and biblical perspective? So I want to start out by saying, if this doesn't really apply to you and you have no interest in the religious and Christian and spiritual side of what I do, totally fine. And if you are a Christian or you're curious about how my spiritual life impacts the mindset stuff that I work on, I really want to dive into this. So, Peter, thanks for the question. I tend to not go too deep into the Christian side of who I am when I'm doing these courses and things, because Successful Writer is open to authors of all faiths and beliefs or non-beliefs. But it is an important question, and I know that there are many people who are either asking this question for their own personal growth or maybe just curious about where I'm coming from. So I'm coming from a Christian background, been a Christian the majority of my life. And so there are certain things that at the beginning did feel a tiny bit antithetical, wanting to earn a lot of money and to be a Christian, for an example. In the churches that I grew up in, and kind of the unspoken rule was that you shouldn't be greedy, which I still agree with, and that anybody who tries to make a lot of money must be greedy and selfish, which I no longer agree with. So, from that standpoint, my desire to be a generous person impacts a lot of what I do. Also, my realization that God is big enough that He can bless me without having to take blessings away from somebody else. That's a big part of a lot of people's money mindset stories, is that if I strive for book sales, then that means I'm taking book sales out of another author who might need them even more than I do. And I've grown to believe that readers are going to read books, right? So it's not an either or. And so that was a struggle that I had to overcome for sure, though, was being a Christian and being okay with wanting to earn money. I see that as a way to take care of my family. I see it as a way to enable my family and I to be generous. I see it as a way to just enjoy the nice things that we have. That was another thing. My mindset used to be so strict and austere that I wouldn't buy anything nice for myself. So the story I've told in my money mindset course is I'm walking in Walmart. I'm a newly graduated from college, and I want a journal so that I can write out my prayers. And I wanted the like $9.99 spiral bound hardcover journal, but I knew that I could get just the, college ruled notebook for 80 cents. And this turned into, kind of looking back, a silly faith dilemma. But at the time, it felt really real because it was, well, I can write in either. So why would I spend this money? But what I've come to realize is that by spending money on things that I enjoy, or things that are going to help my business, or things that are going to make my family happy, or things that are going to improve my health, I'm actually helping my business to continue to grow so that I can continue to support my family and to be generous. We just recently, in the last month or so, retired my husband, and he's working full time now from home. And that wouldn't have happened if I was stuck in, well, Christians should never earn money. And the blessing that's come from that has been huge. My husband's far less stressed than he was at his office job. Our kids are getting so much more time with dad. And so I see this as an amazing benefit that is blessing our family, making us happier, making us healthier so that we can in turn bless others. So that's how I see it from the money side. From a marketing and advertising side, there is a sense of, again, as a Christian, you don't want to put yourself way out there. You're taught that we should be very meek. We shouldn't toot our own horns. And in my day-to-day life, I don't do that. Like, my husband's always getting on me. I would say 70% of the people at our church don't know that I'm an author. They don't know that I've got a thriving, growing business, because in a way, like, they're not my audience, so who cares? But when it comes to marketing, and when I need to be upfront and say, these are great books, I know you're going to love them, the way I got over that mindset stuff was by thinking of marketing truly as a form of ministry in and of itself. So what I mean by that is kind of twofold. First of all, I believe that my books, and this can be true whether you write spiritual and religious books or genre books that have nothing to do with faith, or self-help books that don't have a Christian element, If you believe that your books are going to improve the quality of lives of your readers, then by marketing to them, you're actually doing them a service, right? If I believe that my novels are going to truly inspire the people who read them, then by standing up on a platform and saying, these are great books and I know you're going to be touched by them, is almost like my job, right? Not just from the I'm a businesswoman standpoint, but from the standpoint of I want to be somebody who leaves a positive impact on the world. And so if I believe my books can do that, I want to stand on that platform and let people know about them. The other way I look at marketing as a ministry is I'm able to create relationships with my readers. So if you're on the Successful Writer newsletter list, you might notice this. I try to be really encouraging. I try to be really educational and informative, but also very inspiring. And so I see people come to me because they like that sense of inspiration and getting the information that they get. And so it gives me a platform to speak into people's lives that I wouldn't otherwise have. It kind of becomes like this Hollywood halo effect, right? Where we look to celebrities to give their opinions about political events when really they don't have any more political background than any other non-politician, right? But as an author, you become kind of this figure. And so you have a platform to speak to people, to share your message, to share what you're passionate about and things like that. And so that's another reason that I see kind of my marketing and my audience building. It's not something that's antithetical to my Christian walk. It's not this like boastful, braggy, look at me, I love having all these followers. It's more about look at these people that God has brought that I can influence and that I can reach and that I can touch. And this might be a tiny bit beyond the scope of your question, Peter, but the other way that I really see my faith being incorporated into the work that I do is I really see God as kind of my brainstorming partner. I don't like to call the Holy Spirit my muse. I feel like that's a little bit disrespectful because by calling God my muse, it makes it sound like he's just this, genie in my pocket that I pull up when I need inspiration. But I absolutely see God as my encouragement, my creative inspiration, and what I do in my business, whether that's the creative work of writing a book or the way I market or the newsletters I write or just coming up with my marketing strategies or my publication plans. I really enjoy inviting God into that time. I do it very prayerfully and introspectively. And so I really feel like I'm able to kind of partner up with the Lord. And I look at my close relationships with other people, and I like to do the same thing. I like to work with the people that I'm friends with. I like to have a project. I like to have something that we're building together or working on together or creating together or dreaming about together. And so by having this business, I really do see that as my way of kind of partnering with God and inviting him into the things that I do. So I'll do things like praying over my to-do list, praying over my calendar. I do different kind of like business meetings with myself on a regular basis where I just check in with the different sides of my business. So I might be like, okay, how are my ads doing? How's my newsletter going? What books am I working on now? Who's helped me in my business? And I kind of go through that in two different ways. I do it in the way that benefits me from just getting my thoughts out, but I also do it in a more spiritual way where I'm praying over these things and kind of inviting God into what I do. So, Peter, I hope that that helped give you a glimpse into the answer to your question. For other Christians or people of faith who are listening, I hope that that helps you, especially if you have any of these pain points that we talked about, like feeling weird about wanting to earn money or feeling weird about standing up on a platform to sell your books. And for anybody who is just here for the curiosity of it, I hope that that gives you even a deeper picture into who I am and what my faith is in my business.